So Carla points out a bunch of coincidences which give the goblins more power before the Doctor tells her to stop, before stupidly pointing out a coincidence himself, leading to a shockwave sent through the flat, and Ruby disappears. Damn, if only that could have been easily prevented, you sexy idiot. Because while this scene is good on first time viewings, on rewatches it's so dull, and it then begs the question as to why this makes the Doctor cry. As someone who sounds like me but isn't me said in this video, I don't have an issue with the Doctor crying. Of course I don't. That would be a fucking ridiculous thing to say. But one part of 15 that makes a lot of his heavier scenes way less impactful is that he cries in almost every episode he's in. And for a lot of the reasons that wouldn't make the Doctor cry. Like, yes, here, he is losing someone that he cares about, and knows a lot of foster children likely have lived without a home, but when you really deep it, he doesn't know who Ruby is, at least that well. He has no reason to be this upset that it would make him cry. The Doctor crying is something that should be saved for huge moments of loss or grief or anger in the show, because watching the Doctor holding back his emotions can be way more impactful a lot of the time. And then when he eventually does cry, it has a billion times the impact, because we so rarely see him do it. But here, this almost feels out of character because of how sudden it is. This scene would have been way more effective had we seen Carla crying without knowing why, as opposed to seeing her and the Doctor crying. Not only would this be a nice subtle callback to Series 5, in the best episode of Series 5 by the way, but it would also further strengthen the Doctor's character. Like, imagine how much less impactful Rory's death in Series 5 would be if 11 was crying about it. It's way more compelling seeing how upset he is, but knowing that he isn't gonna cry about it. It's way more impactful just seeing how much it upsets him without him crying. I have no problems with the Doctor being more vulnerable and emotional. My favourite Doctor, and coincidentally the best written Doctor, is the first one to cry at a companion departure because he was so emotionally attached to her. But arguably sometimes seeing him holding back the sadness would hit a lot harder than the times he did cry. Not always though, like sometimes seeing him cry could just straight up destroy your soul.
I could do so much more! So much more!
The culmination of events built up through 4 series leading to the Doctor's biggest mental breakdown ever is how you effectively write something like this. If the 15th Doctor ever has a scene like this, it'll never be as impactful, since we've known since day 2 that he's prone to crying over things that wouldn't upset the Doctor that much, and the rest of the series really doesn't help that either. So the goblins take baby Ruby and the Doctor does something which I find insanely out of character and stupid, no matter which way you look at it. So he uses the Super Mario gloves to pull the ship down so he can rescue baby Ruby. While I like that there's a nice setup and payoff for the gloves in this episode alone, the way he does this really makes no sense when you think about it properly. Okay, so first of all, how does the Doctor know exactly where to pull down to kill the Goblin King, and not just impale baby Ruby? Bear in mind, he has no idea where she is, and she's actually extremely close to the Goblin King, and if this was literally just a couple of feet off, he would have killed her. 2. Why does the Doctor go straight to killing the Goblin King instead of at least trying to reason with him? I get that he's on a time crunch, but considering he has the super gloves, he can climb really quickly, and it just seems a bit out of character for the Doctor's first resort to be murder, and murder in such a violent way. I'm not opposed to the Doctor killing people because it usually gives us some of the most interesting dilemmas and scenes that the show and the character has to offer, but as a first resort? Yeah, that's kind of fucked. And funnily enough, despite this episode blatantly ripping off Rosa points, that episode managed to kill the alien threat in a much more natural and character-fitting way.
That was just insurance, I wasn't going to use it.
And in this episode, despite seemingly doing this on purpose, the Doctor doesn't show any remorse or regret for what he did, and just happily moves on afterwards. Fifth, why did the Doctor put all of his faith and hope that 3% of battery power would be enough to pull this entire ship down?
You know why? Because they have faith.
Shut up!
Faith! The magic word that keeps you never having to think for yourself.
Insane bit of wishful thinking from the Doctor. He's just very lucky that this stupid story was bad enough to have him luckily succeed with this. But it yet again highlights another issue with this story. Because this show has had so many stories in the past where the Doctor takes their companion to a new place, and it seems all bright and wonderful, but he senses that something's going on underneath, and that something's wrong, and it distracts him so much that he can't even enjoy watching the view. That seeing the Doctor clearly clock onto something wrong, but also show a clear lack of urgency on finding out what's wrong, when a lot of the answers are fairly fucking obvious, makes the Doctor in this story seem really, really stupid. Because are we seriously expected to believe that the Doctor, having as much knowledge on the situation that he does, wouldn't have already thought of this outcome from the very, very start? Like, imagine how much more hard-hitting and impactful this scene would have been if the Doctor had been trepidatious throughout the story up to this point. And then, when they're talking to Jocelyn, he finishes the sentence for her in saying that you wouldn't want them to see you die. That would be so much more impactful and actually make the situation they're in and the horror they're actually facing feel more grounded and impactful. But because the Doctor so far in this story has been on a sort of similar level to Ruby, just enjoying everything he's seen at face value, it makes him come off as a belligerent dumbass at this point. You absolute gargoyle cheese. And if you could somehow have the brain power left to make it past all of that shite, we then get the absolute delight of watching the Doctor, yes, the Doctor, get saved by a bunch of little shits with a flamethrower. Oh my god!
Space babies!
Stop saying that, for God's sake! It's so insanely unfunny! Just actually shut the fuck up!
Space babies! You need...
Nah. He's doing it on purpose. He's doing it! He's doing it on purpose! So the Doctor sends the babies back upstairs before trying to send Ruby up as well. And while I do actually really like this little moment where Ruby objects to his order, it's at this moment in the episode where I have to question why her or Jocelyn don't ask the Doctor why they can't just leave. The monster is temporarily gone, the TARDIS is in the clear, and everybody is safe. This is the most perfect opportunity for the Doctor to save everyone. But instead, he's determined to find out what the monster is. Which is fine and very in character for the Doctor to do, but it's also insanely stupid. He doesn't just save everyone first and then go back and do this. There is literally fuck all stopping him from doing this, but for some reason, Ruby and Jocelyn, you know Jocelyn, the character who's been trapped here with a finite amount of resources and oxygen for 6 fucking years, doesn't even question the Doctor trying to stay longer without saving the little shits. Just fucking great! Way to make these people seem like people and not a bunch of useless, fruitless twats! The Doctor Who companion of all time. Also, this isn't going to be the first time I mention this, as I'm pretty sure I literally mentioned it in the last review. But did Russell literally forget what the point of the 60th was? To wipe the slate clean and show the Doctor without a burden on his shoulders? Yeah, right, okay, whatever. The story that sacrifices every plot beat in the stupidest way imaginable for this new direction for the character, and 2 stories later it's been completely ignored. Fucking great! Brilliant! Fantastic even! Fuck you! My God! That scene was awful, and it really makes you think what the difference is between stabbing the Goblin King for basically no reason when you didn't need to, over fucking saving a literal, actual snot monster which was made by mistake. Coming from a mistake myself, it's safe to say this thing is ultimately harmless, regardless. But I don't know, man. Morals seem kind of insistent to me. While it might have successfully done fuck all in those 6 years, it clearly still has the intention of hurting people. So what are you even gonna do with it? Just keep it in a cage? Keep it in the ship? And then for some ungodly reason, the Doctor then gives Ruby a TARDIS key. Where did this come from exactly? How did this episode further their relationship enough to the point where the Doctor can trust her enough to give her this? Haven't they in-universe known each other for less than a fucking day? Yeah, sure, whatever. Yet another scene of the Doctor and Ruby with their out-of-nowhere chemistry getting along with no interest in confliction whatsoever. And he's already given her a TARDIS key. This has got to be the most undeserving of a TARDIS key any companion has ever had before. And also, bear in mind that Mickey, Amy, and Rory never got a TARDIS key despite the amount of time they spent in the TARDIS. Yet, he has rubies! Oh. Like, the scene itself isn't bad, and probably would have worked brilliantly had it happened halfway through the series or something like that. But with there being practically no build-up to this, it just feels so unearned and forced. It's just an underwhelming as fuck moment.
Where's the character development?
How do you know you're not looking at her?
You think I'm a fool?
Oh, and then the Doctor tells Ruby his real name.
Whether you know my name, you whispered my name in my ear. There's only one reason I would ever tell anyone my name. There's only one time I could.
Yeah, I don't see why the Doctor wouldn't tell someone that he just fucking met his real name over anyone who he's travelled with for much longer. Because that's just so in character, isn't it? And the Doctor then mentions that in 1963 London, the first Doctor, yes, the first Doctor, lives here with Susan. And this scene with retrospect of the finale is kind of annoying and just seems very, very random. I do like that they set up the Susan twist in this story, because honestly, I was one of the few people who completely did not see Sutek coming and did just think it was going to be Susan Foreman. But now knowing that that goes absolutely nowhere just makes this, like, seem a bit off and a bit of filler. As if for years, like, literally years, almost as long as the show has been going, have people not been dying for a story with the return of Susan, considering the Doctor did just never go back for her. And this is the first time she's ever been properly mentioned out loud in New Who, and it was ultimately just here to pull the wool over our eyes.
Fuck you! I ain't having that shit!
Also, some of the lines in this scene are bizarre.
You've got children.
I did have, I will have.
I'll save that one for the finale. But this?
Time Lords were murdered. Genocide rolled across time and space like a great big cellular explosion. Maybe it killed her too.
Excuse me, but what the fuck? What do you mean you don't know if Susan is alive or not? That is fucking ridiculous! Are you seriously trying to tell me that the entire time between the Time War and Gallifrey being saved, that the Doctor not once tried to look for Susan? Be fucking for real! Even if the finale does give a good reason as to why he never went to look for her and doesn't mention her, it's fucking absurd to imply that not once did he ever even think about looking for her and doesn't even know if she's actually alive or not. How could he not know this?
The Daleks survived. Maybe some of your people did too.
I know. In here. Feels like there's no one.
Then how are we going to find him?
I'll know him. The moment I see him. Time Lords always do.
You said there weren't any other Time Lords left.
There aren't no Time Lords left anywhere in the universe, but the universe isn't where we're going.
And even after the Doctor saved all of Gallifrey, did it not once occur to him that Susan could have survived the Time War and could still be alive on Gallifrey? Surely he would just be able to know that, considering those 2 lines I just showed before. And undoubtedly there'll be way more lines like that I've just forgotten. Also, as if the Doctor hadn't just said to Ruby in the previous awful story that the Time Lords were wiped out, and yet it needs to be re-established here. And once again, for some reason the Doctor just softly laughs after Ruby gives him a hug. I've recorded the first 3 reviews of this back to back, so I'm losing my mind saying this again, but I get that the point of the 60th was to take away the Doctor's burden. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have to act upset, knowing that all of his people are fucking dead. You carrot top, zany, incompetent sprout.
You were not meant to
have deep and meaningful character depth.
That was not my fault!
Not your fault!
We then get the scene which reinforces how Bi-Generation is an unexplained mess, and this scene to me highlights the problem with 15 so far. Obviously this could all change in the future, but at the minute it sucks how his proper 3rd story ever is making him look so weak. I have no problems with the Doctor being outmatched by an opponent, but this early into a run, having him be so scared of a villain that he starts fucking crying again, just makes him lose so much aura. 15 has almost everything it takes to be a good Doctor. Great performances, charisma out of this world, brilliant lines here and there, and an excellent display of compassion, and usually excellent displays of bravery. But so far, there is just no depth to this Doctor at all. There's something seriously missing, and making him look so weak before he's even had a proper established character is not helping at all. This Doctor has no depth at all as of yet. And this wasn't an issue for the 14th Doctor because obviously David Tennant has played the character before.
He also didn't cry every 5 seconds.
And still, I gotta reinforce how the Torme and half line really doesn't work, because both Doctors are completely fine. They both act how the Doctor would normally act all of the time, so the line really has no weight to it at all. It's so superfluous. Speaking of problems with the Doctor and the word superfluous, Russell does something in the next scene which is so damaging and detrimental that it ruins the Doctor's and Ruby's chance at character development completely. And what makes this even worse is that I don't even think he did this on purpose, because it's almost never recognised or brought up after this scene, yet the damage is already done, and the damage is astronomical.
So when is it for you back home? What time are you? June 2024?
It's hard to keep track, but yeah, I think so. June, July?
Yes, you did hear that correctly. Despite acting literally no different to how they have in their previous 2 stories, and despite the previous 2 stories just insisting that they're already best friends, despite having spent barely any time together, the very next fucking episode says that they've been traveling together for 6 months. What the fuck were you thinking, man? Why on earth would you skip 6 months of character development? What? Could you just not be bothered to naturally write in some interesting confliction between the two? Did you think it would save time, considering that for some ill-advised dumbass reason, this series only has 8 episodes, instead of at least 10 like we had before? Which, first of all, is a fucking pathetic amount of episodes for serialized television, and fourth, that still is not an excuse to skip development for your characters, or in this case, just not develop them and force them to act like best friends immediately, which upon rewatch of this series is really fucking apparent, and makes their dynamic feel so forced and fake. While they are enjoyable to watch on the surface, if you really think about it, there is nothing to their relationship as of yet. Second, Consider that literally almost every new Who companion has way more character than Ruby does in their first appearance alone. Rose, Mickey, Jackie, Jack, Martha, Donna, Wilf, Rory, River, even Clara in the Snowmen to some extent, even if she was insufferable, and even Amy in Series 5, the series where I don't even like her character. But the reason I don't like her, it's not because she's not a character, it's just because she's an unlikable one. Not because she's just nothing. Almost every single other Doctor that has ever existed had so much more depth to them from their first appearance alone compared to 15.
Look, if I did forget some kid called Mickey...
Yeah, it's not a kid.
It's because I'm busy trying to save the life of every stupid ape blundering about on top of this planet, all right?
All right?
Yes, it is!
No second chances. I'm that sort of a man.
By the ancient rites of combat, I forbid you to scavenge here for the rest of time. And when you go back to the stars and tell others of this planet, when you talk of the Earth, then make sure that you tell them this. It is defended.
I'm the Doctor. I'm a time traveller. Everything I told you 12 years ago is true. I'm real. If you don't let me go right now, everything you've ever known is over.
This is over. Are you capable of admitting that? Those people down there, they're never small to me. Don't make assumptions about how far I will go to protect them, because I've already come a very long way.
And the same goes for the companions as well, since most of their first stories are focusing on establishing their characters, and this informs us of what their relationship with the Doctor will be like. This series has no excuse, and like I said before, to make this even worse, I don't even think Russell did this on purpose. I think he was just trying to be clever by taking Ruby to the time at which the episode was the present. Like the time the episode came out. This is honestly one of this series' biggest failures, and the issue is presented arguably at its worst in this story because of this line.
What'd you do that for? Stupid ape!
And despite this episode's world-ending and potentially universe-ending threat just being stopped, the characters are not remotely affected by this in any way and are immediately back to their normal chipper selves right after. Because what the fuck even is character depth anymore? And as if the tonal whiplash couldn't get any more severe, the episode then decides to end on a fucking musical number. But this scene to me highlights something quite unintentionally funny in this story that's being caused by Russell, which I've actually criticised Moffat for in the past. And that's clearly half-arsing and not caring about the series enough, to the point where you notice that for a single story, a character, or in this case, two characters, completely revert to a way that others were written before, and no one in production noticed or stopped it. And once you notice, it's incredibly hard to go unnoticed. In Series 10, despite its avid wrong defenders thinking the 12th Doctor has character development, they always seem to have to completely ignore the fact that in Eaters of Shite, he completely reverts to how he was in Series 8 for absolutely no rhyme or reason, and despite being showrunner, Moffat didn't even notice this and didn't tell the writer to change the way she wrote the Doctor in the story to be more fitting of his Series 10 character. Or he didn't just fucking change it himself since, you know, he's in charge. And in this case, well, just listen to this dialogue and think of what it reminds you of.
I heard a scream, I guess it was that.
He was being smelted.
It's a good word, smelted, isn't it?
Not at the
I've never
moment.
used the word smelted before, it's never come up. New planet, new word, landmine. Oh, I am having a day.
Okay, are you getting scared because you're just babbling now?
Toss it in your hand.
Now tell me with a straight face that that wasn't just 12 and Clara dialogue.
What's wrong?
I don't know. Maybe the smell?
I know, it's everywhere.
You're amazing.
Had some experience. Sonalo de Bazrak, Errol Flynn. He had the most enormous ego.
Takes one to know one.
So you recognize me then?
You're wearing a different coat.
You saw straight through that.
Deep cover. In my school. Why? Where's the teeth? What have you done with him?
He's fine.
I bought it.
From where?
A shop.
No.
Might have been a tramp.
You don't have any money. When did you stop believing in everything?
When did you start believing in impossible heroes?
Don't you know?
I think you'll find I have a certain genetic advantage.
It is not a competition about who can die slower.
It definitely would be me, though, wouldn't it?
Are you cross with me?
I am not cross. But if I was cross, it would be your fault. And yes, I am cross.
I guess that.
I am extremely cross.
And if I hadn't changed my face, would you be cross?
I would be cross if I wasn't cross.
Why?
You're very, realistic.
Tongues.
Shut up. Yes, I have a plan.
Can you explain your plan without using the word sonic screwdriver? Because you might have forgotten the Sheriff of Nottingham has taken your screwdriver, just saying. So it's a screwdriver.
Right, okay, well, let's...
You get the point. While they don't act exactly like them all of the time, and I can at least appreciate that these two finally feel like characters, for fucking once, it is incredibly lazy and extremely telling that apparently no one noticed that they're acting just like the 12th Doctor and Clara, respectively. This does not excuse how lackadaisical the writing is here from Moffat and Davies, but yet, this derivative bollocks is the best characterization they get all series. Absolutely shameful! You utterly incompetent pair of deranged tomatoes. So the Doctor finds out that the urn is voice activated. Just keep that in mind for now. Unfortunately, this potentially good scene is even further undermined when, for some pig ignorant reason, after we find out the kid's called Splice, she will still be referred to as little shit by me, don't you worry. The Doctor then asks for her full name. Now cut back to what I just said you had to remember before.
Your loss. Oh, voice activated.
Why the fuck would you ask for her full name when you clearly know who she is? You stupid bitch!
Great name, Monday Flynn. You should marry Ruby. Then you'll be Monday Sunday. Go on, get married. I'd laugh every day.
Yeah, hilarious. But don't you think there could be a much more suitable time for this, Doctor? I think there's much more pressing issues at hand here, like the massive fuck-off gun that's pointed at you, that you're fully aware of. If she fires, you'll blow up the fucking planet, you cretin! So the Doctor further reinforces how stupid the notion of fighting enemies which you don't even know what they look like is. And then we get literally the most perfect example of Moffat's style over substance bollocks writing, where in order for the cool shit to happen, the Doctor has to act like a belligerent donkey for 4 fucking minutes straight! He has not just said, I'm a Time Lord, scan me, I'll blow up the planet. How insanely fucking empty-headed and brain-dead are we expected to think that the Doctor is for not just saying this shit immediately? Are you actually being for real, man?
No.
What?
I said no.
Why not?
I don't want to.
Doesn't make any sense.
Too bad.
Okay, so after that entire conversation that happened before, after she raises the gun to him, after she asks him to drop the casket, after she explains what the landmines do, after she aims the gun at his arm, after he asks her to explain immolation, after she shoots him the first time, after she shoots him the second time, after she shoots him a third fucking time! Only then does this absolute dilem tell her to scan him. Are you fucking serious?
How was this made? Seriously, how was this ever acceptable? That this could not have flown back then, even then, right?
So 15 really is just as much of an idiot as the 12th Doctor. However, one complaint I have about this story right off the bat, which isn't really much of a critique of the story itself, but more so the series itself. And that's how this is only episode 4, technically 5 of the series, and we're already having a Dr. Light story. Now, I'm well aware that Ncuti Gatwa wasn't available for filming because he had to finish Sex Education, which is fine, but that then begs the question of why not delay the series by a bit so you could have included him in more stories? But then that just goes back around full circle to the massive glaring issue that this series only has 8 episodes, which just very clearly isn't enough for Doctor Who. If this series had 10 episodes instead of 8, this wouldn't be as much of an issue, but having the Doctor completely out of the story before he's even got a fully established character is very damaging to the series overall. Also, considering in the 3 series of Doctor Who that actually have Doctor Light episodes, the episode is always after episode 10, so we've had plenty of time to like grow and love with the Doctor, fall in love with the character, see his dynamic with his companion before we lose him for an episode. I don't know, I just think this is way too early for this to be in the series, especially since the characterization has been so poor. But that's not really an issue with this story itself. Yet. It's, again, yet another detriment to the first 3 stories, and just goes to show how poorly they did at writing the 15th Doctor as a character. Excluding Boom though, because as bad as it is, at least the 15th Doctor is a character, even if he's a stupid one. The 12th Doctor. So Ruby goes back to the TARDIS again and she gives her farewell to the Doctor before leaving to go back home. Unfortunately though, this scene is another which is just very weightless, and the impact of it isn't really felt because of the Doctor and Ruby's relationship. Because of their lack of character in their first 3 appearances not selling us on the connection between these two at all, her making this huge decision to leave the TARDIS behind and wish that she could see him again, it just isn't impactful. Because I couldn't tell you for the life of me what these two get out of each other besides just messing around and being overly happy and not being integral to the plot and not really being characters themselves, just sort of being empty vessels who follow around the awful plots. Even factoring Boom into the equation, I don't get what these two get out of travelling with each other. And unfortunately, as much as Ruby was just acting like the worst companion pre-Chibnall era but nowhere near as pretentious and insufferable, and can actually act with bad material, none of the personality from Boom has carried over. And with the Doctor acting no different at the start of the story either, I just don't buy that her leaving the TARDIS like this would be a super impactful moment at all.
No, I was hardly with him, really.
Which is a huge shame and just shows off how much Russell has rushed this series.
I mean, it seems to me that this is a
perfect way to build up the Doctor and companion's relationship.
If you suck!
And also, the Doctor clearly shows that he can use the Sonic to get himself back into the bubble at will. Considering the danger and situation that everyone's in, this does then beg the question as to why he didn't just do this immediately and instead makes Ruby come in much later, when loads of other people have likely already died. Annoying orange looking And unfortunately, I can't even use the cope that he was busy trying to help other people on Fine Time, because nowhere in this story is it implied that him or Ruby did this. And it would also make the ending scene's impact be a lot weaker, and it wouldn't hit nearly as hard, because as we see how overtly awful these people are, I'm sure the Doctor would have noticed before getting the remaining people there. So the Doctor and not Captain Jack go outside with the Doctor seeming instantly infatuated with him. Because that's a totally in-character thing for the Doctor to do. If I hear one mention of the 10th Doctor in the comments, I swear to God, just tell me you don't have media literacy without telling me you don't have any media literacy.
You know, this is not a good look for you in any century.
Remember how despite how muddled it was, the last story actually delved into what potential issues the Doctor could deal with because of his race? Yet, here he is in the 19th century not having a single issue with it. World building just isn't real. Neither's history. It never mattered in the first place. At least that's what Loki told us.
Secondly, you are a bounty hunter. That is so cool.
How very in character for the Doctor to find someone who kills people for money without a care in the world. Cool. And it infatuates him even more to not Jack.
Let the nearest time agent track it back to Earth, convince him it's valuable, and name a price. 50% up front, oops. German bomb falls on it, destroys it forever. He never gets to see what he's paid for, never knows he's been had. I buy him a drink with his own money, and we discuss dumb luck. The perfect self-cleaning con.
Yeah, perfect.
Getting a hint of disapproval.
Remember when the 15th Doctor was amazingly written well in his last appearance? I'm starting to miss that so much already. We then get another very casual character assassination for the 15th Doctor, and the Doctor as a character.
Well, whatever the Chode has done, I can't let you kill it. I also can't let it kill others. So instead, we will transport it to a random, barren dimension, no one to hurt, no way back.
Wow, what the fuck? So, instead of being killed off instantly, they'll slowly die a long and painful death, likely suffering for weeks or maybe even months, starving to death before they die anyway. What the fuck is wrong with you, you absolute doorknob? Don't you see how what you're putting them through will not only kill them anyway, but also be much worse than pretty much just dying instantly? So not only does the Doctor kill the Goblin King for no reason, not only...
They all died at the end, didn't they? Because he, what did he do to the ship? He made it so the ship was powered off a fart, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he powered the ship off a fart. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
How was it going to actually land? It was just going to go straight into a planet.
I didn't even think of that. That's so funny.
How did it land? It's not a working ship, it just got powered by a fart. So he essentially just sent them all to the death.
I didn't even think of that. That's so stupid. But now he wants to send all of the Cholders to a barren wasteland for them to slowly starve to death. Who the fuck wrote this absolute garbage, you narcoleptic dick? As if this doesn't make the Doctor's supposed edgy turn later in the episode completely nonsensical, you worthless twonk. Remember when I said in my Starbeast review that I hoped the Shadow Proclamation would be reinforced in this era and used to help the world building like it was before? LOL. How is this scene literally an almost exact repeat of that awful scene from Arachnids in the UK, yet the Doctor's morals are still presented in such a stupid way, as if this isn't one of the most openly criticised scenes in Doctor Who in recent memory? So the Birds and the Smurf barge in for one of them to marry Ruby, before the Doctor storms off for a strop. Maybe this would have an ounce of impact if we hadn't seen it 100,000 times before this, but because we have, this is just yet another weightless, hollow and empty scene of supposed character work, when it's really just another cheap attempt to have the audience stay invested in the story. I know I've already said this before, but using the Doctor crying this much as a crutch for emotional beats in the story when you can't think of any other way to generate drama really is such a huge detriment to the series overall, and the 15th Doctor as a character. It really makes him look like such an oversensitive, brittle bitch, and for the supposed healed and developed version of the Doctor that 15 is supposed to be, there's nothing to call this other than out of character. As much as 13 is an infinitely worse character than 15, even Chris fucking Chibnall understood that the Doctor crying should have only been used for huge moments of loss or grief or trauma. Because when you do it so often, not only is it extremely out of character, but it adds absolutely nothing to the story or the drama, because we know that at this point, 15 would probably cry if he tripped over and scraped his knee. And this scene only feels more cheap and forced when we get this horribly out of place and stapled on flashback scene of Carla asking the Doctor a promise to keep Ruby safe. Which not only fails because it was completely invented for this story and wasn't at the end of Space Little Shits or the Devil's Chode like it really should have been, but because Ruby and Carla are such poorly defined characters and the Doctor's relationship with both of them is so surface level and superficial, no one gives a shit, because it's hard to muster up a care about any of these characters. Because honestly, what do any of them have as defining characteristics of their relationship. Hell, the Doctor doesn't even have a dynamic or relationship with Carla. They only ever spend time together, besides in Church of Mid, off fucking screen. Compare that to the growing resentment, then acceptance, then loving relationship of the Doctor and Jackie. This series' character writing has been fucking dreadful. It's so embarrassing seeing guest writers try their absolute damnness to salvage anything out of this shit. And I don't even fully blame them for doing such a shitty job, considering they actually have fuck all to work with. So just have to pull bollocks like this out of their arse. So the Doctor's crying continues and he causes another person to die because he didn't jump into action immediately. This isn't morally reprimanded for the character and the script itself doesn't even acknowledge that it happens. This is so awful! How has the Doctor actually just let someone die and the apes who wrote this shit didn't even notice how this was a problem?
How long do they live for?
Chode? They have a lifespan of 600 years.
Good. Good. It's a long time to suffer.
Damn. I mean, maybe this would have an ounce of impact also if you weren't already forcing them to slowly starve to death! You fucknut! So Not Jack then appears from absolutely nowhere. Fucking Fireman's carries the wet sock into the triangle as well. Okay. So the Doctor cries for the more billionth time and every single one of the bird people just don't speak. They just don't speak for the rest of the episode. They just fucking stood in silence while the Doctor deals with the moral dilemma of having to kill Ruby to save the day. Damn. I mean, as poorly handled and stupid and contrived as it was, remember when the 14th Doctor had basically the exact same scenario literally 8 episodes ago and still made the hard choice? I mean, it didn't mean anything in the end because that episode was just fucking dumb, but still, he still made the choice. So not only is the 15th Doctor a massive pussy, he's also incongruous to the Doctor as a character. Fucking brilliant. As if Ncuti's generational talent needed to be wasted anymore. So Not Jack snogs the Doctor in a moment that has absolutely no emotional impact or weight because there's no reason to buy the connection between these two, since they clearly just fell in love so that we could get a scene of them kissing. Especially since some of the Doctor's reason for finding Not Jack attractive are just straight up out of character for the Doctor, and Not Jack's entire Captain Jack Harkness personality straight up just disappears once he finds out who the Doctor is. So there's no reason to buy that these two actually love each other. So I just don't care. If you want to see this story be played out and actually done with care and respect, and not just done for cheap claps, then go and watch the timeless, beautiful masterpiece that is Series 1, Episode 12 of Torchwood, titled Captain Jack Harkness, which manages to do all of this and more with a fraction of the budget, on BBC 3, on a spin-off show, and also was made in 2006! Also, is this yet another episode where the Doctor doesn't even save the day, and he's just a passenger in the show, titled Doctor Who?! So now it's the next morning, apparently. I'm just struggling to find reasons to care anymore. And the Doctor sends Not Jack's ship into space in a shot that we don't see because budget. And as if the 15th Doctor needed any more scenes of him being poorly written or acting out of character, for some reason here, instead of fronting and facing all of his emotions, like this whingy, pathetic little bitch has been shown to do over everything and anything, which is still out of character, but you get the point. For some reason, when talking about Not Jack being gone, he decides to completely shut himself out and claims that he's always like this because he has to be.
I'm fine. I'm fine because you fix yourself. We're Time Lords. We're doing rehab out of order.
Now this is just straight up out of character for the 15th Doctor. This is something that the damaged and vulnerable 10th Doctor would do, because he was scared to face his emotions. But for 15, one who's very open and honest with his emotions, this is just straight up out of character. So not only is the way 15 is written most of the time out of character for the Doctor, this is just out of character for the already out of character Doctor. The amount of levels of shit and bad is on so many fucking levels high up. It's just so fucking lame that I cannot even comprehend how this awful scene made it to air. Was the point of the 15th Doctor not to be the healed version of the Doctor, preceding 14, who's capable of controlling his emotions?
But how many died down there?
You can't save everyone.
Why not?
I've got you. Yeah? It's okay.
This mystery of whether she's actually Susan Foreman fails immediately because the Doctor should know on sight whether it's actually her or not. I touched on this in my review of The Devil is a Liar, but it's absolutely absurd to imply that the Doctor wouldn't recognise her even if she'd regenerated. Literally in Series 3. Funnily enough, the same series where multiple storylines and characters were ripped from to be used in the last unit story. The Doctor recognises the Master as soon as he becomes a Time Lord again. He doesn't even see his face, and the Master doesn't say anything that would immediately imply that it's him. And the Doctor knows who it is.
I'm asking you really properly. Just stop. Just think.
Use my name.
Master.
That voice at the end, that wasn't the Professor.
If the Master's a Time Lord, then he must have regenerated.
What does that mean?
It means he's changed his face, voice, body, everything.
I'll know him. The moment I see him. Time Lords always do.
One thing I'll give the Series 10 finale, and trust me, I don't give that story many things, but it even made sense that Missy didn't recognize the Master straight away, because not only would it be more expected to see another version of yourself, and it's usually commonplace for other versions of the same Time Lord to not immediately know who they are.
Who is this man?
That's just what I was wondering. You're not.
What do you know of regeneration? Are you a Time Lord?
You know who I am. You must.
But the Master was in a full disguise and was trying to hide himself away. Something the character has done from the very start and has been established to be very good at. But here, not only would Susan Foreman never have to hide herself, like, seriously, why would she even, if she is actually alive? But she's using the same name and an anagram of the TARDIS as her surname. The obviousness of this being a trap, which the episode even acknowledges, is so high that it's insanely obvious that it's not her. I don't know, like, who does this episode think it's fooling? Also, as if the Doctor wouldn't be able to sense if it's his own family or not. Be for real. So we shift flick Whiplash back to the mystery of whether this is Susan Foreman or not, and we get one of the stupidest details that Russell has ever written into this show. A detail so stupid that even Stephen Moffat wasn't aware that it was in the series. Because the reason as to why you would ever even attempt to write in a retcon like this is just so baffling and pointless that I honestly don't even know why Russell did this, as it just creates so many plot holes.
If you've got a granddaughter, that means you've got kids.
Well, not quite. Not yet.
But you mean you can have a granddaughter before a daughter?
Life of a Time Lord.
Even ignoring the multiple times the show has very explicitly stated that the Doctor was a dad before, I honestly do not understand the point of Russell writing this into the story. It doesn't add anything to the narrative or the character. If anything, it just takes even more away from the mystery and intrigue of the Doctor. Because the Doctor being a dad and us never knowing who his kids are or what happened to them is honestly really interesting. It's been a question since the beginning of the show as to what happened to them. It's ambiguous storytelling done right, something Russell himself clearly doesn't understand anymore. But taking this interesting aspect of the character away for seemingly no reason as of yet just seems a bit reductive and stupid. especially with some of the scenes hinting towards something tragic happening to them in the past, showing the Doctor's trauma and that he doesn't want to talk about it.
Before this war began, I was a father and a grandfather. Now I'm neither, but I'm still a doctor.
Yeah. Know the feeling.
Family, and what about trying to understand them?
Easy for you to say, you don't have kids.
I was a dad once.
What did she say?
Donna, I've been a father before.
What?
Lost all that a long time ago. Along with everything else.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I mean, children cry because they want attention, because they're hurt, or afraid. When they cry silently, it's because they just can't stop. Any parent knows that.
Are you a parent? Doctor, do you have children?
No.
Have you ever had children?
Listen to me. However little is left of you, you are still a father. Dad to dad. You never let them down, right? Dad to dad. Dust to dust. Am I right?
But nah, fuck that. The Doctor hasn't even had kids yet. You disgustingly smelly, wretched fucking melon! While this scene does give us a good excuse as to why the Doctor never went back to see Susan, it is absolutely fucking ridiculous to imply that he doesn't even know if it's her or not, unless he sees her in person. And it's still insane that he doesn't even know if she's fucking alive or not. Remember when the 10th Doctor immediately recognised the Master even though the first time he seen his face was on a TV? And what is Susan Triad on? A fucking TV screen. You infantile, elongated plastic wee. So the Doctor, for some reason, doesn't use the TARDIS to go back in time so he could have more time to talk to Susan Twist. Hope that doesn't lead to anything bad happening for something that could be easily prevented. You fuck! And also, despite being on a time crunch, the Doctor decides this is the perfect time to have another baby strop.
She's due to make the speech at 3 o'clock. We've got 10 minutes.
What are you doing, you utter prat? You're already on a time crunch to speak to Susan before she goes live. Why can this absolute moron not control his emotions at all? He doesn't even feel like the Doctor at this point. Not that he has for most of this series. Instead of the over 2,000-year-old time traveler, I feel like I'm watching a child. So Carla also dies and the Doctor and Mel arrive at the time window with Ruby. The Doctor then sends the soldier out because... I guess he didn't want to save her as well. So he instead sent her to her death. What?! Huh?! As if we needed any further proof that the 15th Doctor is regularly written out of character for the Doctor, on top of being written out of character for his own characterization of the Doctor, which is also built on being out of character for the Doctor, as if we needed any more proof than him literally sending this poor lass to her death for actually no reason whatsoever. Seriously, he sent her to a supposed Bunker 17, but what's that actually going to do? Clearly, nothing, since everything in the universe is wiped out. All life except these two twants and this stupid dog are dead. It's gone. It's Jova. Why did he just send her out to her death instead of just taking her with them? Is he stupid? Also, what is wrong with you, you ultra moron? Add another one onto the 15th Doctor's unnecessary kill count. We aren't even 5 minutes into this story yet, and not only is there no threat, no tension, because we all know it'll get undone, because we're not stupid, not only has the Doctor acted like a moron for the 100th, 1000th time this series alone, but now he's literally just sent someone to her death for no reason other than Russell clearly didn't want this character to get in the way of the other scenes. It then also begs the question as to why Kate would send a soldier with Ruby, even though the Doctor knows that Ruby would go to the room anyway, and surely Kate would be able to clock on that Ruby would just go to the room anyway. So you literally just wrote her going there to just send her away. You didn't even have to write in that the Doctor unnecessarily gets someone killed again! But you just did! You are so dumb! While the Doctor gets racked up with guilt for inadvertently wiping out the universe. This moment in isolation with all of the context removed, I actually do really like. As not only is it perfectly in character for the Doctor to have this reaction, I mean, I could see almost any of them react in this way, to be honest. But Ncuti's performance here is fucking excellent, really selling us on all of what the Doctor's going through, and how well and truly fucked the characters are because of this. The idea of the Doctor's silly little adventures catching up with him, leading every single one to have wiped out billions upon billions of life forms in the universe, knowing that all the Doctor has helped and lost and suffered to save the universe was meaningless and all in vain because everyone just died anyway, and Ncuti fucking kills it. However, because we simply cannot have nice things anymore, this moment is completely unearned and has absolutely no emotional impact. Not only because of the muddled and absurd way that we actually got to this scene, but because we've seen this Doctor cry so many times that seeing him break down and cry again just brings out nothing but disappointment. Because seriously, imagine how much more impactful this breakdown would be if we hadn't seen this Doctor cry over stuff as simple as being scared, someone who he doesn't really know dying, who he can very easily save, and saving a snot monster. And also because one of the biggest flaws with this series, which I'm very surprised I've managed to go this long and push back talking about it for this long, and that being the overarching character moments and the characters just never grow or learn. Because every episode this series, besides Boom and Dot and Bubble, have the Doctor and Ruby just revert to their normal, happy, chipper, boring, characteristic selves at the start of every new story. We know that this moment will have no long-term impact on the 15th Doctor. We won't get a scene as good as this one from Wild Blue Yonder.
The flux. It destroyed half the universe because of me. We stand here now, on the edge of creation, a creation which I devastated. So yes, I keep running, of course I do. How am I supposed to look back on that? It wasn't your fault. I know!
And I gotta use the goats as an example here, but on a near episode by episode basis, we see 9 and 10 grow and evolve as people, and same goes for the companions they had each series. If you compare the 9th Doctor in Rose to the 9th Doctor in The Parting of the Ways, they're the same person, but they're so different, and we've seen that journey through the series.
Look, if I did forget some kid called Mickey...
Yeah, it's not a
it's
kid.
because I'm busy trying to save the life of every stupid ape blundering about on top of this planet, all right?
All right?
Yes, it is. Unless, I don't know, you could come with me.
Don't. He's an alien. He's a thing.
He's not invited. This is who I am, right here, right now, all right? All that counts is here and now, and this is me.
Yeah, and I'm here too, because you brought me here, so just tell me.
Everything has its time and everything dies.
My planet's gone. It's dead. It burned like the Earth. It's just rocks and dust. Before its time. There's a scientific explanation for that. You're thick.
We're just idiots.
Well, not all of you.
Yeah?
We are the same.
We're not the same, I'm not...
Exterminate.
Why should I? You never did. Rose, get out of the way, now!
No, because I won't let you do this.
I've got to do this. I've got to end it. The Daleks destroyed my home, my people.
It's changing. What about you, Doctor? What the hell are you changing into?
I couldn't. I wasn't.
I did it again. I picked another stupid ape.
I should have known. It's not about showing you the universe. It never is. It's about the universe doing something for you.
I'm not stupid.
You could have fooled me.
All right. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives!
There is every possibility the Delta Wave could be complete, but no possibility of refining it. You would destroy Daleks and humans together.
There are colonies out there. The human race would survive in some shape or form, but you're the only Daleks in existence. The whole universe is in danger if I let you live. Because if I activate the signal, every living creature dies. I'll do it!
Then prove yourself, Doctor. What are you, coward or killer?
Coward. Any day.
You are the heathen. You will be exterminated.
Maybe it's time.
I can see everything. All that is. All that was. All that ever could be.
It's hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me. Clinging to the skin of this tiny little world.
That's what I see. All the time. And doesn't it drive you mad? I think you need a doctor. Before I go, I just want to tell you you were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was I.
I'd make a compilation for the 10th Doctor growing and changing as a character, but that's an entire video in and of itself, because his character arc goes so deep and extensive. But even on the most surface level possible way of looking at it, we've seen how his loss with Rose affected his relationship with Martha, and just his social skills in general and his shorter temper. Never wanting to grow too attached to her because he didn't want to go through the same pain of losing a loved one, leading him to push her away and neglect her in ways he otherwise wouldn't have had he not just lost his family. I mean, also because she lied to him and said that she wasn't interested. You know? Because not all characters are perfect people, and that's what makes them more interesting. But upon realizing this mistake, he embraces her properly as a friend again, before he has to lose her too, leading to when he travels with Donna, he clarifies right from the start that they're only friends, and so many other things the 10th Doctor goes through as a character, like not letting his ego get in the way of taking people down due to a jab, leaving a power vacuum in the UK government which inadvertently gave the Master an easier shot at enacting his evil plan, and also was the foundation of what built up Torchwood, which lead him to Lost Rose. Or how destroying Pompeii took such a mental toll on him that we see the effects of it so much later on, turning Rose's character around completely, which almost led her to her death. Never having a life like that, and then when he does and has to lose it again, trying to manipulate Joan into getting back with him due to thinking he can just walk back into people's lives like this, etc, etc. The point being that because the 15th Doctor isn't a growing and developed character, and is very static, with nothing from previous episodes carrying over, like, remember how in Church of Shit, he stops himself from going to ask Ruby to travel with him because he thinks he might be bad luck in people's lives? I mean, it's kinda stupid within the context of the episode because nothing that happens in that story is the Doctor's fault, really. But it could have been a potentially interesting idea to explore in the series. But it never comes up again. It's never mentioned again. And honestly, had I not had to comb through this series thousands of times for this review, I probably would have forgotten it as well. But that comes up in the first episode of Series 14, and despite him inadvertently getting Ruby killed in Boom, the bad luck notion or idea of this never comes up again. So this scene just has no emotional resonance impact, or anything really, leaving this as just yet another moment of Ncuti acting his heart out to no avail due to the writing's incompetence. And to clarify, there's nothing wrong with static characters. Two of my favourite fictional characters ever are both pretty static for the most part. But there's a difference between being static and being so reverted back to factory settings that the last episode might as well have not happened. Realistically, 15 should not be going from the trauma of the Devils Chode to dancing 2 minutes later. He shouldn't be dealing with the loss of life due to people's racist beliefs and experiencing racism for the first time in his life, and then going to Earth's notoriously racist past to fuck around and play Bridgerton. The fact that you can basically skip from the Church of Mid to Empire of Piss and not miss any character depth or development or growth from 15, and he's basically the same character in both stories, is really telling of how poorly Russell has handled the character. Despite the fact that for whatever ungodly reason, later on he tries to act like the character has changed so much. But he ain't. Wait, hang on. Wait, so the Doctor's been spending weeks looking for metal?
It's been a very, very long time.
How the fuck can this damn spoon be the only thing that he's been able to find in that time? Sure, they at least attempt to cover this up by saying that they couldn't use anything from the nostalgia box because it's not real. But look at 15 in almost any scene and in any story. I'm sure you might have noticed that he's dripped the fuck out. Bro has more rings than I do, and I'm an expert at 15th Doctor drip. He also has a very nice necklace that I'm sure could have been used, and a huge belt buckle, and what do jackets have on them? So this scene is one that is ultimately just a waste of time and really dumb. It is also just kind of funny how overly dramatic they play up this whole scene, just for it to be a fucking spoon that saves the day, and he only uses it to get the iPad to work again, so it all just feels very silly, and yet another squandered chance at us having nice things, because fuck you. Because in case we had any suspicions that this entire story was pointless, and nothing that happened in it actually mattered, including Ruby living through the events of the Curse of Clyde Langer, we get proven wrong here, because it was actually important so that the Doctor at this very convenient time for the plot can remember that DNA testing became compulsory, so they can go and get a DNA sample of Ruby's mum. Strange how this bit of information managed to escape the Doctor at the beginning of 69 Yards, since he decided to bring up Gwilliam for absolutely no real relevant reason other than making another fake mystery in that story, already filled with fake mysteries. And you would have thought that if he randomly decided to put such huge emphasis on finding out who Ruby's mum is, then why would he not just travel to 2046 and do the DNA sample thing immediately? But then again, at this point, I don't even know why I'm expecting the 15th Doctor to be characterized as intelligent, considering how many times in this series, and this story alone, he's been made out to be a fucking irrational banshee instead of the Doctor. Because apparently in the 2020s, the only person who can be consistently written well as the Doctor is David Tennant. And even his Doctor can't escape acting like a gormless, corpulent shithead as well.
We've run out of time. We've run out of time.
I miss Doctor Who.
We can't!
Well, 2046 doesn't exist, does it?
Yes, but it is preserved in death, because I once landed there, so it's fixed, yeah?
So everywhere the Doctor landed was still preserved in time, yet this damn spoon was still the only bit of metal that he could find in the entire universe. Also, even if a place is preserved in death, how the fuck does that in any way make you think that all of the DNA that was recorded would still be accessible? Considering what everywhere looks like, and I doubt many internet towers are still standing, you stupid bitch! And then we get another supposed edgy turn for the Doctor.
And now, I must become a monster.
Damn. I mean, maybe this would have an ounce of impact if you hadn't already condemned a bunch of bird people to slowly starve to death in the last episode. Or if you hadn't powered a ship to fart into a planet, killing everyone on board, or hadn't impaled the Goblin King with a church tower in your first story, then maybe killing the God of Death would have some impact. But because you've already killed so many people pretty cold-heartedly, I don't know why this actually bothers you. You caked up psychopathic doofus. Even regardless of that blatant distaste, this scene is still shit, for many reasons. But one of the main ones is the complete lack of emotional weight. Because the Doctor and Ruby have been built up as such blank, boring, cardboard nothings of characters, with the Doctor regularly acting like a moron and completely contradictory to how he was introduced, this moment has no impact. Because we have no reason to give a shit about either of these two, especially when Ruby's decision is brought on by the fact that the Doctor doesn't do families.
You could call. You don't do that, do you?
Huh? Would you not think that after the 60th and the Doctor healed and processed all of his trauma, that he wouldn't just run away from stuff like this anymore? Isn't he meant to be more in touch with his emotions and the people he surrounds himself with? Why would he run away from this again and try to hide his emotions? Because he's jealous he can't do the same for Susan? Even if that were the case, I thought you'd moved on from stuff like this.
I'm fine. I'm fine because you fixed yourself. We're Time Lords. We're doing rehab out of order.
Would this not be the most perfect opportunity to show this character development for the Doctor? And even if you wanted to, for some reason, be wrong, and even if you wanted to infer this as the Doctor reverting to his old ways, with the 15th Doctor's characterization being so inconsistent and messy, it really doesn't come off that way. It just comes off as yet another case of this Doctor acting out of character. As if we needed any fucking more examples of him doing so. And he then goes on to spout this absolute fucking nonsense bollocks, testicle-ridden horseshit, as if he's actually had some sort of character development or growth.
Because you changed me. I talk about family in a way that I never did before. It's because of you. You have made my life bigger and better.
Well, it's all a lie. No.
What on Mars are you talking about, you fucking fork? Absolutely nothing has changed about your character from the Church of Shit to now. Other than the fact that you regularly acted like an out-of-character fucking moron. Why is this episode actually trying to act as if some sort of big character change has happened for the character? And him and Ruby have gone through so much, when they really haven't. These two sexy pricks have been passengers in almost every story in this series, and with them not being integral to the plot 90% of the time, it's hard for us to even attempt to care about them as people, let alone think that they've actually grown and developed. Because they haven't. Even in shitty episodes of Doctor Who before in the RTD1 era, you can at least see how the characters would grow and change from it, given that they aren't just fucking passengers in every episode. The only way you could possibly infer that what the Doctor's saying has any truth to it would be literally just the last scene where Ruby meets her mum. There is no through line through the series to connect anything to the failed themes that this clusterfuck of all things holy that could actually take away from the Doctor. The Doctor mentions that he's adopted in church, and mentions all of his people are gone in the next 2 episodes as well, on top of randomly bringing up Susan in the Devils Chode. And then never again until the finale. This is not a character arc. This is just lazy. Compare this to the incredible exits that all of Russell's companions got before, and it's night and fucking day. All of Russell's previous companions had these fantastic character arcs, and we understand what they got out of travelling with the Doctor, and we understand what the Doctor got out of travelling with them. With Rose, we see how travelling with the Doctor gave her life the purpose that she was so desperately seeking.
I'm left travelling on my own because there's no one else.
It's me. And all the things I've seen him do for me. For you. For all of us. He does it alone, Mum. But not anymore. Because now he's got me.
And how she helped the Doctor recover from after the Time War. With Martha, she needed the Doctor so that she could believe in herself more.
Martha Jones, you saved the world.
Yes, I did. I spent a lot of time with you thinking I was second best, but you know what? I am good.
And the Doctor needed Martha because he knows that he always needs someone even if he is in denial of that fact. Otherwise he'll go off on the deep end because he's just too traumatized and broken and will become more prone to making mistakes and fucking up. Allah?
Find someone.
I don't need anyone.
Yes, you do. Because sometimes I think you need someone to stop you.
People have travelled with me and I've lost them. Lost them all. Never again.
They all died. Do you know who that leaves? Me! It's taken me all these years to realise the laws of time are mine, and they will obey me!
I've gone too far. Travelling alone. I thought it was better, but I did some things that went wrong. I need... Oh, my word.
But they split off in good terms on the end when they both realised that what they're doing clearly isn't good for either one of them, and is just a bit unhealthy. Honestly, Ruby's exit should have been a lot more like Martha's. Like, I don't know why they're trying to make this scene so sad, especially with it confirmed that she'll be in the next series as well. With Donna, she needed someone to make her feel like she was special, like she mattered, like she was important, and the Doctor brought out the best in her.
But if he was so special, what was he doing with me? You thought you were brilliant. Don't be stupid.
You are. Just took the Doctor to show you that, simply by being with him.
Why? What can I do?
Every trace of me or the TARDIS, anything we did together, anywhere we went, had to go.
All those wonderful things she did.
I know.
But she was better with you.
Don't say that.
No, she was.
The point being that even after 8 episodes and a shitty Christmas special, we still don't know what these two get out of travelling with each other. There's nothing to their relationship outside of the extreme surface level, leaving this as just such a nothing, wasteful slag bag of a scene. Fuck you. I just want this to be over. Oh, but before it ends, we get another out-of-character moment for 15, where he doesn't say I love you back to Ruby for absolutely no reason. Does this not feel like we're treading on similar ground? Also, why would he not be able to say that he loves her back? Besides the fact that it's bullshit either way because, like, these two just lack character, either way, he should be able to say it back given his characterization.
Called Donna Noble. And she was my best friend in the whole wide universe. I absolutely love her. Oh, do I say things like that now?
Sounds like a good thing to say.
I love the ending for the 14th Doctor, even if it was built up pretty poorly, but it's very obvious from this series that Russell writing this was a mistake. This strict, sharp change in characterization for the Doctor has been completely ignored in some stories, acknowledged in some, yet contradicted in others like this. The idea of a Doctor who doesn't bottle up his emotions or carry a burden on his shoulders is still a great idea, but Russell clearly isn't playing to his strengths here, because one of his biggest strengths is writing deep, usually dark and meaningful character arcs that explore aspects of people that most people usually wouldn't want to discuss. And almost all of his greatest characters before this had this, and none of them do now, and they all suck! And before we get to anything else in this story plot-wise, even before we get to Ncuti's best scene as the Doctor yet, I have to praise and question how well the 15th Doctor is written in this story. Seriously, This episode is proof that despite writing the Doctor as a bland, happy-go-lucky, lacking in depth caricature with very rare occasional good lines here and there, that Russell can actually write the 15th Doctor as a compelling character. Seriously, I don't know why, in this episode in particular, and literally no other that he's appeared in so far, that Russell doesn't write him like this. Despite this being the second Doctor-like story in a row, and him not even entering the world itself until the last 7 minutes of the story, this is, without doubt, Ncuti's best performance as the Doctor. And that's in large part to how well Russell writes him in this story. Not only is he written and acts in a way that actually feels like the Doctor.
Lindy, it's okay. I think that I can get you out.
I muted you.
Unmuted, honey.
I was so right there.
I'm trying to find out what it is, but first things first, I'm here to save you.
I don't know how to walk without the arrows.
You don't know how to walk?
Without the arrows.
You don't know how to walk without the arrows.
It ignored you.
Forward.
Why did it do that? What did you do? There's
Forward.
That's 2 of them now, just letting you go.
Let me get the left. Forward.
Yes, yeah. Lift. Let me just squeeze in.
You can't do that.
Yeah, well, I just did. If you walk using those arrows, you could stroll right into one of those things and get swallowed alive.
Oh.
The truth. Okay, everyone, head to your conduits. Follow my instructions. Go now.
You see? The arrows work.
Yeah, okay, that's good. You're amazing, Lindy. I swear to the sky, you are doing really well.
Oh, condescending much.
Turn it off right now.
That is a powerful anti-grav cycle combination device. If it wants you dead, it can kill you itself. Dot off.
You're the rich kids. I should hope so. I thought you were like office drones, but that's why you only work 2 hours a day. So the rest of the time, we party. It's like Love Island, the planet.
How did you do that?
Unblocked, babes.
I'm out of power.
You are kidding me! You only stay live for 5 seconds and there's 100 numbers in total.
Yeah, it's okay, you don't... I've studied postcodes, so I kind of know how they work.
You're clever as well.
No, I know, but come on, babes. We need to get you out of there.
Run!
No, not forward, go back! Move! Don't follow the arrows! Do not follow the arrows! Just keep them back! Lindy!
You're in the same room. You're together.
Oh, what the hell? Yes. Mm-hmm.
You lied to me. This...
What, Ricky the singer? That's him. Oh, nice one.
It's hot.
Hands off.
Yo.
Oh. Wait a minute.
What is it?
It can't be.
No.
Doctor,
No.
stop it. Tell us.
No. Really?
But like you've just seen before, he exudes so many of the key traits that make the Doctor as a whole such a compelling character. The authority, the wit, the depth, the justified outrage, the humour, the never-ending curiosity and interest of the unknown, the ego, the amazing displays of compassion and courage, even to someone who dismisses him and treats him like shit from the very start, all radiate the Doctor so amazingly in this story that this is the best showcase of what this Doctor should be, and honestly is my only spark of hope that Russell will actually wake the fuck up and start writing good Doctor Who again. And he's barely even in it! If the 15th Doctor was written and performed like this in every story, then he would honestly be one of my favourites right out of the gate. This and The Giggle are the most interesting portrayals of this character so far, and I really hope that he's written this well again soon. Boom might have been a good showcase of the Doctor as a character.
Doctor!
For the most part. But really, that was just Ncuti playing the 12th Doctor. This is Ncuti playing the 15th Doctor, and it's fucking brilliant to witness.
And just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed.
And one thing about this scene that I really fucking like is the look on the Doctor's face, because you can guarantee that he knows what happened to him, but doesn't say anything. It's a great way of showing off the Doctor's intelligence and knowledge of people. I'm still really appreciative that Russell has remembered that the Doctor can read people really well, and isn't socially incompetent after putting up with years of funny alien man / woman who creates loads of funny moments due to their social incompetence. It's hard to remember sometimes that the Doctor is supposed to be smart. So the Doctor offers to take them with him to a safe place and save them, but shockingly, they say no. And it's at this point that all the subtle hints and great build-up lead to the huge twist reveal.
We couldn't travel with you. What? Why not?
Because you, sir, are not one of us.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
Yeah, it turns out that not only are the kids from Fine Time rich, pampered, sheltered, rude, spoiled, and morally fucked, they're also racist. And this then leads to the greatest showcase of the 15th Doctor as a character that we've gotten so far. Everything I said about why he was great in this episode before, times it by a quadrillion. This is Russell T Davies writing at its absolute finest, with so much said and done, just with the facial expressions alone. Before the Doctor even says anything else, the look on Ncuti's face says it all. The Doctor's complete shock here, completely perplexed that they would turn down his offer to literally save their lives, turns into a look of almost belittlement, clearly known that these people aren't intelligent from the start, only reaffirmed by the fact that they would have such a brain-dead belief that they'd assume he's lying about anything to do with the TARDIS after he got them this far already. I love how you can see the Doctor's face slowly change in this scene. His slow realization and bewilderment of the situation that he's currently found himself in is something completely new for the character that they themselves have never experienced before. And you can tell he almost doesn't even know how to handle it. But despite being singled out and denied help and outright insulted for his race, the Doctor still tries his best to save them, showing this character's key trait of compassion at its very best. But with that key trait of compassion and wanting to save everyone, then delves into the much more interesting part of this trait, and that's the need and desire to save everyone. The character's inherent god complex, which has been explored fascinatingly throughout the revival, and this is one of the best showcases of it. With the Doctor needing to save them, they have to let him, and him specifically, save them. Notice throughout the whole scene, after he realizes they're racist, he never says, "We can save you." It's always just him.
You will die! Out there! And I can save your lives! Now let me!
I will do anything if you just allow me to save your lives.
And he has so much hubris that he can't even wrap his head around the idea that they wouldn't let him save their lives purely because of the colour of his skin. And we know it's purely because of the colour of his skin, not only because, I mean, it's kinda fucking obvious, but also because of how much Ricky September is like the Doctor. Yet Lindy has absolutely no issue with him.
Lindy Pepperbean, I will get you out of here.
Rose is waiting.
I will get you home.
And this then leads into Ncuti's best acted moment as the Doctor yet. Which is even fucking more wild to say, considering this is the first scene he filmed for the series after doing the giggle. The Doctor completely snaps, having a full-on justified outrage that these people are so stupid and stuck in their own ways that he can't save them completely due to factors out of his control. Fucking pristine. As the episode ends, with Murray's only memorable new track this series, playing us out, as the Doctor solemnly walks to the TARDIS, completely disgusted, outraged, bitter, defeated and dejected, and all of it is done without words. Just the facial expressions of Ncuti here, and it's honestly one of my personal favourite Doctor Who scenes ever. It's absolutely fucking fantastic, and it ends this episode brilliantly on such a bittersweet and heartbreaking moment after such a huge bombshell. Russell's masterclass writing at its finest.